Have you ever been on a flight and felt that sudden lurch? That little drop in your stomach? Usually it's just a bit of turbulence. But what if it wasn't? What if the plane itself decided to take a nosedive, with no input from the pilots? That terrifying scenario just became a reality, triggering a massive global recall that could impact your holiday travel plans. This is the story of the Airbus A320, a critical software flaw and a race against time. A sweeping emergency order has just been issued, grounding thousands of Airbus A320 family aircraft. We're not just talking about one model. It affects the entire A320 lineup, including the A319, A320, and A321. Globally, that's an estimated 6,000 jets. To put that in perspective, the A320 family is one of the most popular and widely used aircraft in the world. Chances are, if you've flown in the last decade, you've been on one. Now, thousands of them need an urgent fix. So, what went so horribly wrong? The culprit appears to be a tiny, almost invisible force: solar radiation. Investigators believe that intense solar activity, like a solar flare, may have bombarded an aircraft's computer system, corrupting critical data. The specific component at the heart of this issue is the ELAC, which stands for Elevator and Aileron Computer. This is essentially part of the plane's brain. It's a vital piece of hardware that translates the pilot as commands the movements they make with the controls into physical actions by the plane as flight surfaces, specifically the elevators that control pitch and the ailerons that control roll. When the ELAC malfunctions, the pilots can lose direct control over these key functions. The plane could, in theory, start making its own decisions. And that's exactly what seems to have happened. The event that blew this issue wide open was a harrowing incident on October 30th. A JetBlue flight from Cancun to Newark was cruising at altitude when, without any warning or pilot input, it suddenly pitched down and entered a rapid descent. Passengers were thrown against their seatbelts and chaos erupted in the cabin. The pilots, fighting for control, managed to stabilize the aircraft and execute an emergency landing. Thankfully, there were only minor injuries, but the incident sent shockwaves through the aviation industry. It was the smoking gun that regulators needed. They couldn't ignore the possibility of this happening again, potentially with far more tragic consequences. This single incident was the catalyst for the Emergency Airworthiness Directive. Regulators realized this wasn't an isolated glitch. It was a systemic vulnerability affecting the entire A320 fleet running this particular software. The risk of another uncommanded altitude loss was too great to ignore, forcing this massive worldwide recall. Now, you might be picturing thousands of planes sitting in hangars for weeks on end, causing travel chaos. And while the disruption is real, the solution for most of the affected aircraft is surprisingly quick. The primary fix is a software rollback. Essentially, technicians will uninstall the current compromised software version and reinstall a previous, more stable version that isn't susceptible to this data corruption issue. It's a bit like reverting your phone to an older operating system when a new update causes problems. The good news is that this process is relatively fast, taking only about 2 hours per aircraft. But here's the catch: the timing. This directive has come down just as the world is gearing up for one of the busiest travel seasons of the year. In the United States, it's hitting right after the Thanksgiving rush and leading into the December holidays. Airlines are already running their fleets at maximum capacity. Pulling even a single aircraft out of service for a few hours can create a domino effect, leading to a cascade of delays and cancellations. Scheduling these 2-hour maintenance windows for thousands of planes without crippling the entire air travel network is a monumental logistical challenge. Airlines are scrambling, working around the clock to get these fixes done during overnight maintenance or other scheduled downtime. But disruptions are almost inevitable. And for a portion of the fleet, the problem is even more complicated. Over 1,000 of the newer A320 NeoJets can't be fixed with a simple software patch. These models may require a physical hardware change. This is a much more involved and time-consuming repair. meaning these specific aircraft could be out of service for longer, further straining airline capacity. This two-tiered repair system adds another layer of complexity for airlines trying to manage their fleets and keep their schedules intact. So, who is most affected? In the United States, this is a major headache for the big players. American Airlines operates the largest A320 fleet in the world, so they are at the epicenter of this recall. Delta Airlines and, of course, JetBlue are also heavily impacted, needing to cycle a significant portion of their workforce, short to medium-haul fleets through maintenance. But this is far from just a U.S. problem. It's a global issue. In Europe, major carriers like Lufthansa and the budget giant EasyJet are facing the same logistical nightmare. Across Asia and the rest of the world, any airline that relies on the A320 family and there are many is now in a race to comply with the directive. The pressure is on to ensure the safety of the fleet without bringing global air travel to a standstill. What does this mean for you, the passenger? First, be prepared for potential disruptions. If you have flights booked in the coming weeks, especially on an airline with a large A320 fleet, keep a close eye on your flight status. Delays or even cancellations are a real possibility as airlines juggle their schedules to accommodate these mandatory repairs. Second, and most importantly, this is a story about safety. While the thought of a plane losing control is terrifying, this massive recall is a sign that the safety systems in place are working. An issue is identified and swift, decisive action is being taken to fix it. The aviation industry operates on a principle of extreme caution, and this is a prime example. The goal is to ensure that the harrowing experience of that JetBlue flight is never, ever repeated. The industry is prioritizing your safety over schedules, and that's a good thing. The next few weeks will be a major test for airlines and a source of potential frustration for travelers. It highlights the incredible complexity of modern aviation, where a few lines of code or the invisible effects of a solar flare can ground thousands of the world's most advanced machines. It's a powerful reminder of the constant vigilance required to keep our skies safe. So as you watch the news and check your flight status, remember the bigger picture. This disruption, while inconvenient, is part of a process designed to protect millions of travelers. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the stories shaping our world. Stay safe out there.